Back at the Ranch, number 19, From the Raven, Revenge, and the Reckoning. The wind hissed against the window panes, soft and steady like it had finally made peace with the land. Somewhere out in the dark, a coyote howled. Rapid-fire staccato yelps, rising into a long, drawn-out howl, hanging in the air before fading. And then the prairie went quiet again. Mara sat still beside the bed. The room was lit only by the faint glow from the stove down the hall and the warm flicker of a kerosene lamp on the nightstand. Killian hadn't moved again, but his breathing was easier now, slow and even. She could see the wire glint faintly when the lamplight caught his jaw just right. His hand had twitched earlier. He seemed to be breathing easy. She sat back in the chair, arms folded tight, watching his chest rise and fall. She didn't like seeing a man helpless in bed like this. It reminded her of when Jerry died. She hadn't realized how much of herself she'd been pouring out the past 36 hours. "Damn you," she whispered. "Stubborn man." She reached forward, pulled the blanket up higher. The room was colder than it should have been. She let out a breath she hadn't noticed she was holding and leaned her head back against the chair. The storm had passed, the house was still, and she finally felt relaxed enough to sleep. The kitchen smelled like sweet cornbread. The wood stove ticked and hissed, steam rising from a pot where Lottie was stirring broth slow, careful not to splash. She moved quiet, barefoot on the worn pine floor, trying not to disturb the hush that had settled over the house since dawn. Mara came in without a word, carrying the cloth she'd used to wipe Killian's brow. She dipped it in the basin, wrung it out hard, and hung it on the line by the stove. Her face was unreadable, jaw tight, movements brisk, but Lottie had grown up watching that face. She knew what silence meant, same as she knew what wasn't being said. "Everything all right up there?" Lottie asked softly. Mara nodded once. "He's resting." Lottie turned back to the pot, stirred once, then said it quiet, like a question she wasn't sure she had the right to ask. "I don't mean nothing by it, Mama, but you care about him, don't you?" Mara didn't turn around. She stood at the sink, staring out into the pale light of the coming day, fingers curled over the edge. "I cared about every stray dog I ever brought in, too," she said. "Don't mean I don't make them sleep on the porch." Lottie smiled just a little. "Yeah, but you never sat up all night for a dog." Mara didn't answer. Lottie stepped away from the stove, wiped her hands on her apron, and leaned against the table. "I just know we could use another hand, and he was good, and he's easy to be around." Mara turned, finally, and looked at her. Before she could speak, the door creaked open, and Sam stepped in, still in his coat, bits of hay stuck to one shoulder. "You need anything?" he asked, eyes flicking from one woman to the other. "Figured I'd check before I head out." Mara shook her head. "We're fine. Doc left enough laudanum to put down a bull." Sam nodded, but didn't leave. "You want me to ride into town for anything?" he asked, then looked at Lottie. "Thought I might put a saddle on a couple of the 4-year-olds while I'm at it. Get their heads right." Lottie straightened a little. "You want help?" he shrugged. "Don't need it, but I won't turn it down." Lottie looked at her mother. Mara gave a nod. "Go on. Pick me up some medical supplies in town if you can. I've got a list here." She handed it to Sam. "I've got everything covered here. Who's out in the bunkhouse this morning, Sam?" "Just Lazarus and Bill Puck. Make sure you tell Bill to check in with me halfway through the morning while you're gone." "Sure thing," Sam replied. Lottie pulled on her boots by the back door and grabbed her coat. Sam held the door open for her, and as they stepped out into the cool morning light, Mara stood there a moment longer, alone now, in the quiet clatter of pans and the faint smell of broth, before turning back toward the stairs. Up there, a man who should have been dead was still breathing. And maybe, just maybe, she was starting to care a little more than she wanted to. Sam led the gray mare out first and handed the reins to Lottie. She was already swinging up light and smooth when he turned toward the white mare, tied near the barn wall. The mare pinned her ears the moment he touched the lead rope. "Don't even start," Sam muttered. She yanked back once, hard, but he let the rope slide through his gloved hand. He tossed the saddle up in one clean motion, cinched her tight. The mare sidestepped, breathing sharp through her nose. Killian swore she near broke his ribs. She bucked him in the water trough? Lottie said, eyebrow raised. Let the rope slide through his gloved hand. He tossed the saddle up in one clean motion, cinched her tight. The mare sidestepped, breathing sharp through her nose. Killian swore she near broke his ribs. She bucked him in the water trough? Lottie said, eyebrow raised. Sam checked the cinch again. She don't like strangers. You ain't a stranger? Sam gave a grin that looked half hopeful and half foolish. Guess we're about to find out. He set one boot in the stirrup and swung up, a clean mount. For half a breath, the mare stood frozen. Then she lit off like a firecracker. She crow-hopped once, twice, spun hard, then bucked away in a straight line before turning sharp left, half a lap around the barn before settling. Lottie pulled the gray back a few paces, watching with wide eyes. Sam rode her loose, heels down, leaning back just a little, feeling her rhythm, not trying to fight her. Easy, girl. Come on now. The mare gave one more short burst of half-hops and bucks, then snorted and settled, jumpy, hot under the saddle, but done with the drama for now. Sam blew out a breath and gave her neck a rub. Yep, still got her opinions. Lottie grinned. She'll make you earn that ride. Damn right, Sam said, nudging her forward. Let's go get that stuff in town for your mama before she changes her mind. The creak of the stovepipe and the slow tick of the mantel clock were the only sounds in the room. Mara had dozed off in the chair again, one leg folded under her, head resting against the wall. She stirred slightly when she heard the shift of breath. Not a groan, not a word, just a sharper exhale. Then another. She opened her eyes. Killian's eyes were half-lidded, unfocused at first, but open. His brow knit like he was trying to remember something through fog. She leaned forward. Hey, she said. He blinked again. The bandages on his face were stiff with dried blood. His jaw, wired shut, pulled the corner of his mouth slightly as he tried to speak. Don't, she said quickly. Don't try. You'll just make it worse. His eyes darted toward her. Confusion, then recognition, then something else. Mara stood, crossed to the side table, and pulled open a drawer. From it, she took a small spiral notebook and a short pencil and brought it over. Here? She said, placing it gently on his lap. You write. I'll read. He looked at her, then at the notebook, then slowly reached for the pencil with his good hand. His fingers were swollen, but he got a grip. The lead scratched slowly across the paper. You found me? Mara read it, nodded. Yeah, we did. Lottie and I, and Sam, our foreman. The Grula gelding showed up here at the ranch. Looked like he'd run hard and had some blood on the saddle. His hand moved again, slower this time. How did you find me? Sam. He's half Apache and a hell of a tracker. Took us all night. He wrote again. Why would you come looking? I guess, she said finally, because I didn't want to bury another man who didn't get a chance to answer for himself. Killian's mouth moved slightly. Could have been a smile or pain. Hard to say. He wrote again. Horse okay? That made her laugh under her breath. The gelding? He's fine. Like he knew where he was going the whole time. Killian's hand paused, then moved again. He knew the way home. He gave a little grimace, like he was trying to smile. Thank you. She stepped closer, took the pencil from his fingers gently. Rest. You can thank me when you're strong enough to sit a horse without tipping over. He gave the faintest nod. Then, before she stepped away, she tapped her fingers against the edge of the notebook and said, quieter this time, I'm not doing this out of pity, Killian. Don't make that mistake. His eyes locked on hers. Clearer now. She nodded once, then turned away, left the notebook beside him, and stepped out to get more water for the basin. She called over her shoulder, I've got some broth for you. I'll bring it right in. Behind her, in the quiet of the room, the pencil scraped again. Glad it was you. Mara returned a minute later with a fresh basin of warm water and a clean rag. She moved quieter than before, but not because she was trying to be soft, because she hadn't figured out what to do with it yet. She picked up the notebook again. Glad it was you. Her hand stilled over the page. She looked at him, really looked this time. Swollen face, busted jaw, one arm limp across the blanket. Bruised, broken. You're a damn fool, she said quietly. What the hell did you ride out here for? I offered you a good job. What are you running from anyway? She thought for a minute. But I guess I'm glad it was me too. He blinked slow. There was something in his eyes, not gratitude exactly. Kind of a strange look, she thought. She handed him the pencil again. He wrote, Were you expecting to find me dead? She read it, nodded. We didn't know. If the Grula hadn't come back, you would have been dead. I was already trying to decide what to say over your grave. She smiled a little. He didn't smile, just scribbled, "Don't go to burying me too fast." He winked. She snorted, "You planning on making this a habit?" He hesitated, then wrote, "Used to think I wouldn't care who buried me. Now I'm not sure." That one caught her off guard. Mara didn't reply for a bit. Then she said, "You're not dying, Killian." He blinked once, then underlined, "Thank you." She sat down again, notebook still in her hand. "Then heel upright. Listen to the doc and me. Don't waste it." He reached for the notebook again, slow, left hand stiff. He wrote something longer this time, and it took effort. When he finished, she turned it toward herself. Mara looked at him. "Long. I reckon you're right. I should have stayed when you offered me the job instead of going off half-cocked. Should have known no good would come from it." She stood up, set the notebook beside him again. "What happened anyway? How did you get your jaw broke?" Killian scratched slowly. "A feller named Hap Creedmoor. A real piece of work. You ought to see how he looked." Mara smiled a little in spite of herself. "Well," she said, "I don't condone grown men fighting, but you'll probably tell me you didn't start it." Killian wrote, "How did you guess that?" She smiled again. "I know men like you and how they think." She paused, then added, "But maybe that means we're not so different." She turned and walked out the door. The trail into Dry Bluff was wide and rutted, the kind that soaked up spring storms and dried in a pattern of cracked veins come summer. By the time Sam and Lottie rode in, the sun had burned off the morning chill and the town had begun to stir. Wagons rattled, a bell rang from the smithy, two hounds chased each other along the edge of the mercantile boardwalk like they owned the place. Lottie pulled the gray to a slow walk. "Looks quieter than I expected," she said. Sam leaned forward in the saddle, keeping his hands easy on the white mare's reins. "Dry Bluff always looks quiet. It's when you stop watching that it bites you." They hitched the horses outside the feed store, and Lottie stepped down, adjusting her coat. Sam swung off slower, the white filly still antsy under him, but she didn't make a fuss. "Better behave," he muttered to her, tying her reins to the rail. The mercantile door creaked open as they approached, and a thin, sharp-eyed man in a wool vest stepped out. He squinted into the sun. "Well, hell," he said. "Ain't seen your sour mug in a stretch, Crow." Sam looked over, smiled just a little. "Tommy?" Tommy Griggs, wrangler turned clerk, stepped down off the porch. He had the kind of voice that always sounded like it had just finished cussing someone. "You get fired again or just miss my hospitality?" "I'm still working, far as I know." Tommy spat off the side of the step. "That white mare still trying to kill people?" Sam tilted his head. "Only the ones who deserve it." Lottie hid a smile behind her hand as she stepped past them and into the store. Tommy watched her go, then turned back to Sam. "Who's the girl?" "Mara's daughter." "Oh," that was all he said, tone softened just a little. Sam stepped onto the porch, but paused. "Tommy? Yeah? You still got the good coffee, or just the stuff that tastes like boiled fence posts?" Tommy grinned. "Back shelf. Tell your girl to ask for the jar marked, 'Don't touch.'" Inside, Lottie was already working through the list: flour, sugar, bandages, lamp oil, soap, and more thread than Mara had asked for. Sam handed her the money and took a tin of chew off the counter. The bell jingled as someone else came in. A woman this time, older, with a worn dress and a kind face. She looked at Sam and stopped cold. "Sam Crow?" Sam turned. "Didn't expect to see you back around here," she said. "Last I heard, you were somewhere west of Redemption." Sam gave a half smile. "I got tired of running out of road." She looked at him a moment longer, then stepped forward and hugged him, tight and sudden. "Don't you go disappearing again." "I'll do my best." Lottie watched from the back of the store, quiet but taking it all in. The sun had dipped behind a haze of clouds by the time Sam and Lottie turned off the main trail. The white mare had finally run the edge off her temper, and the gray was steady as ever. Sam rode quiet, reins loose, hat pulled low. Lottie carried a smaller package in her saddlebag, a comb she hadn't told her mama about yet. "I like that lady in the store," she said. Sam looked over. "Mrs. Howard? Yeah, she seemed like she knew you." He nodded. "She helped my brother when he was dying, brought food out to the reservation, when no one else would." "Do you like her?" Sam snorted. "Lord, no. She's got 10 grandkids. I mean, I like her, but not like that." Sam looked over at Lottie. She was smiling. "I'm just teasing, Sam." He went on. "I think she just sees through people. She's just one of the nicest ladies I've ever met." Lottie smiled. "I think she sees right through you." They crested the ridge just before the house came into view. Smoke was curling from the chimney. The air smelled like sage and wood smoke, and something else. Something warm. "Dinner," Sam said, stretching in the saddle. "Hope to hell it ain't beans again." Lottie laughed. "You should be grateful she feeds you at all. Lucky she doesn't send it to the bunkhouse to eat Lazarus's cooking." Sam made a face. "Thank God." They rode into the yard, dismounted, and started unloading the saddlebags. Sam tied the white mare and gave her a firm pat. "You did better than expected." She snorted at him. Inside, the lamp was lit over the stove. Mara was setting bowls on the table, sleeves rolled up, hair pinned back. "Smells like heaven in here," Sam said as he stepped in. "Beef stew. Biscuits are still warm." Lottie brushed past him with the sacks. "We got everything, Mama, even the good coffee." Mara raised an eyebrow. "Tommy's still holding out?" "He gave it up," Sam said. "You must be more feared than I am." She didn't answer, but there was a flicker of something in her eyes. Maybe tired? Maybe he wasn't sure. "Did he eat yet?" Sam asked, glancing toward the hallway. "Some. I got broth in him earlier. He wrote a little." "Good. Did he say what happened?" "He said a man named Hap. He also said I should have seen what the other fellow looked like." Sam shrugged. "Never heard the name." Mara ladled soup into a smaller bowl, let it cool a minute, then picked up the tray. "I'll take this up. You two eat." She was gone a while. When she came back, her face was unreadable, but calmer. They sat and ate in near silence, the kind that settles between people who've already said the important things. Afterward, Lottie cleared the dishes, and Sam pulled on his coat. "I'll bunk out with the hands," he said. "You don't have to," Lottie replied. "You can sleep in the loft above the wash house." "I know," he said, "but I will." She nodded once. Sam paused at the door. "I'll be back in the morning." "I'll have breakfast ready," Lottie said. "I'm sure Mama's going to be tired." Sam nodded but didn't respond. He looked up when Mara walked back into the room. Sam cleared his throat. "Think it's time we had a sign out there. Folks ought to know what this place is called when they ride past. Big letters, Mule Shoe Ranch. Make it clean, but rough enough it looks like it belongs here." Sam grinned. Mara looked up. "Sure, Sam. Go ahead. I think that would be a great idea." "Well, I'll work on it tomorrow. Since we brought the herd in, the boys don't really need help out there right now, and I'll have some extra time." He opened the door and stepped out. Outside, the sky had gone dark and full of stars. The bunkhouse was lit faintly from within, and the ground crunched cold under his boots. Sam Crow walked slow, steady. There was work to do tomorrow, colts to break, fences to ride, and a man in the house busted all to hell. But he was certain he would be okay. He could tell Killian seemed like a decent fellow.